I've been delivering food through Uber Eats for about a year now, usually working the late night shifts. The pay is decent, and I like the quietness of nighttime driving. Most orders are the same: pick up, drop off, move on. But one delivery, just a few weeks back, was anything but ordinary. In fact, it's made me question if I ever want to do a late night delivery again. It was around 11 p.m., and I'd just finished a run when a new order popped up from a little Italian restaurant I'd delivered for plenty of times before. I accepted it without thinking, drove over, and picked up the food: a large bag of pasta, some garlic bread, and a small cannoli. It smelled incredible, like most of the orders I picked up from this place, so I didn't think much of it. The GPS led me out of the city, further than most deliveries usually take me, but I figured it was just some family wanting a late night Italian feast. After about 15 minutes of driving, I ended up on a narrow road lined with tall, looming trees that seemed to block out any light from the sky. It was almost unsettling how dark it got, with only my headlights illuminating the road ahead. Finally, I saw the address: a small, unassuming house just past a rusty metal gate. The porch light was on, casting an eerie glow over the entrance. I parked in the gravel driveway, grabbed the food bag, and made my way up the steps, noticing that the house seemed oddly silent, like it was holding its breath. I knocked on the door, shifting the food bag in my hands as I waited. After a few seconds, I knocked again, this time a bit louder, and called out, "Hello? Uber Eats." But there was no response, just the creak of wood somewhere deeper in the house. Then, to my surprise, the door slowly creaked open, just enough for me to peer inside. The first thing I noticed was that it was pitch black beyond the threshold, even though there were lights on in the hallway, casting just enough glow to see inside. I leaned in, trying to catch a glimpse of anyone, and called out again, "Hello? I've got your food." Still nothing. I waited, feeling a growing unease, but eventually figured the person might have stepped away or hadn't heard me. I nudged the door open a bit further with my foot and stepped inside, just enough to set the food down on the floor. I'd never actually gone inside someone's house to deliver food, but I was starting to get a bit impatient. I just wanted to drop it off and get out of there. As I set the bag down, I heard something, a faint rustling sound, almost like someone moving around in the darkness deeper into the house. I straightened up, squinting into the shadows, and called out, "Hello? Your food's here." Silence. But the feeling in the air was heavy, almost suffocating. I felt like I was being watched, like eyes were tracking my every movement from the shadows. I was about to turn around and leave when I caught a glimpse of something in my peripheral vision. A shape, maybe, or a shadow, moving down the hallway. I swallowed hard, the hair on the back of my neck standing up. "I'll just leave the food here, okay?" My voice sounded weaker than I'd intended, barely breaking the oppressive silence around me. Suddenly, a light flickered on down the hallway. It was dim, almost as if the bulb were struggling to stay lit, but it was enough to reveal the figure of a man standing at the end of the hall, half in the shadow. He was tall, wearing dark clothes, his face obscured by the shadows, but his posture was stiff, like he'd been standing there, waiting. "Hey, did you order Uber Eats?" I asked, my voice sounding too loud in the stillness. The man didn't respond. He didn't even move. He just stood there, staring. Or at least I assumed he was staring, though his face was still mostly hidden in the shadows. Something about the way he was just still, without saying a word, made my skin crawl. I took a step back, ready to bolt, but then, just as I moved, I heard the creak of a floorboard behind me. I whipped around, heart pounding, to find an empty hallway stretching into the darkness behind me. But I swear I had heard something, a faint shuffling, like someone was right there, moving. My hands were clammy, and I struggled to steady my breathing. I turned back to the man in the hallway, but he was gone. The light down the hall was still flickering, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. I didn't know where he'd gone, but I felt this overwhelming sense of dread, like something terrible was about to happen if I didn't get out of there. "Look, I'm leaving," I called out, trying to sound braver than I felt. I turned to make my way back to the front door, but as I reached for the handle, it wouldn't budge. It was as if it had locked itself, trapping me inside. I tugged on it, panic clawing at my chest as I twisted the handle, trying to force it open. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a faint whisper, so close it felt like it was right next to my ear. "Why did you come inside?" I spun around, pressing my back against the door, eyes wide as I scanned the dark, empty hallway in front of me. There was no one there, but the whisper lingered in the air, chilling me to the bone. Then, as if on cue, all the lights in the house flickered off, plunging everything into complete darkness. My heart was hammering in my chest, and I fumbled for my phone, needing some kind of light. But as I pulled it out, the flashlight app wouldn't turn on. My battery was low, draining faster than it should have been, the screen flickering weakly before it died completely. In the suffocating darkness, I felt utterly trapped, the silence broken only by the faint sound of footsteps moving slowly, deliberately, toward me from down the hallway. My instincts screamed at me to move, to get out, but I couldn't see anything. I pressed myself against the door, my hands desperately searching for a way to open it. Then, the footsteps stopped, just a few feet away from me, standing there, inches from my face, though I couldn't see a thing. The air felt colder, the silence deafening, as if the house itself was holding its breath. And then the whisper returned, a low, rasping voice right next to my ear. "You should never have come inside." I don't know how, but I managed to twist the handle one last time, and the door finally gave way. I stumbled backward, falling onto the porch as the door swung shut behind me with a loud, echoing slam. I didn't look back. I scrambled to my feet, ran to my car, and sped out of that driveway, my hands shaking so badly I could barely keep them on the wheel. When I looked in my rearview mirror, the house was dark, completely still, as if nothing had happened. I didn't report the delivery. I didn't leave a review or check back to see if the order was completed. I didn't want anything to do with that house.